So you've seen the bits about the pole and how we did it. What we want to do now is look at what made it work. Part of it, the good to great, Jim Collins. Big, hairy, audacious goal. This means we'll arrive at the North Pole, first time we try, with all our team members beginning from the real land edge. When you assess teams and their ability to do that, 5% of them make it. So the 95% don't. So what have we got to do? You can switch out of that and onto the visual if you want, AV guys. What have we got to do to get ourselves, to elevate ourselves to that great position? Because people start off with the right attitude, the right ideas, the gusto to do it, they believe they've got a good team. Well, the first thing you do is define what success looks like. That starting from the real land edge, arriving there with all the team members, no jumping the rough ice at the start, and the first time we try it. And when you come out and you stretch that big goal like that, the idea of Saxton thing I said, do people usually come along, I bet you've known this, do they usually come along to you and say, Graeme, what a great idea, let me tell you why this will work? No. Most usually the first thing they say is, let me tell you why you won't succeed. Now we Australians never do that to each other, do we? Trust me, people around the world do it. And I think it's a bit of a fear factor, that challenge of stretching the goal so far. The challenge then in being part of this team and putting the expedition together is often that information is part of what is salient in terms of knowing how do expeditions fail. But it can often be delivered to you in such a negative way that it puts you right off. And you're going, oh, well, maybe we should just settle for that, we'll get there second time, third time, like most other expeditions. So it's about being able to delineate, taking that information, but not let it derail you. So we go to the next one here. The next step in this, part of it, again, the Jim Collins stuff, because it resonates really well with expeditions corporate. First who, then what. We put the right people on our bus. Getting the right people is the most important goal, since they alone determine whether we win. You need to see our North Pole expedition the same way we do. Our culture. This gives us the strength. And importantly, if you don't see it that way, you should find yourself a different expedition. You can take it off now, guys. What's important there is, if we set up that 5% opportunity, we'll get there the first time, we've defined what we want in terms of culture. If you don't believe that's success for you, if you don't believe you're capable of it, don't join our team. Don't come in and try and change what success should look like. Sure, have robust discussions about how do we make this work the best we possibly can, but don't come in with a whole other agenda to try and change what success looks like. That's one of the major strength factors. To have the skills to get to the North Pole, that's a given. If you haven't got that, you don't belong in the team. But you must adhere to the culture. That's what makes the strength thing work. Look at this one. We've got to do some jumping here. Here we go. Then what's the next challenge in this whole team thing as we look at it? The good to great. What are people, this is Wilson Learning, you've probably come across TMS, DISC, Integro, Myers-Briggs, there's a whole bunch of them. They're all pretty much similar. The preferred work styles. Let's go to the expressives, we'll just tap into that for a second. They're always good for a laugh, I think. Liking to create involvement, excitement and involvement, share ideas, dreams and enthusiasm. Okay, what happens with this is it's so easy to get into bringing around you the people you get along with the best. And if you do that only, then as expressors you'll bring around the expressors because you talk the same language. It runs pretty smoothly, usually until it doesn't. And then when it doesn't, it feels like all hell's broken loose because the very people you got along with the best now feel as though they're opposed to you or they don't agree with you or they're undermining you. Try that 3/4 of the way to the North Pole. Day 40 out of a 56-day trip, and you suddenly think the other guys don't like you. It's a pretty isolated place to be. And it's also the last place you want to be because it's so dysfunctional in the team. What do great teams do? They make sure they get the variety of preferred styles that complement each other. The analyticals, the drivers, the amiables. These are preferred styles. And they bring the range of styles into the team. Okay, you can take it off, guys, thank you. They bring the range of styles into the team. And they make sure that the people have the understanding and the ability to work together with those styles so that they're complementary rather than disruptive. I'm sure you've heard some of the discussions, like analyticals to the expressives. excuse my frog in the throat, every time we think we can move forward, you change the rules and shift the goalposts. How on earth can this work? There is no structure here. Now, I'm sure you've never heard that said in any of your businesses. No. And then if you see, if you say that to the right preferred expressive, say like someone like me, I mean, my response would be, and for you to move forward, you need every single answer first. Analysis paralysis. If we waited for you to have every single answer, nothing would ever happen. We'd be sitting here thinking about it. Now, of course, that's not correct. But if you push people to the extremes when it's really, really tough, no matter how much we think we're not doing it, don't you find that you gravitate to how do I do this the best? How can I be possibly the best I can be? That means if you're real expressive, you become more expressive. You drive the preferred analyticals nuts because all they see is you blabbering on. They see no action. And you won't leave them alone to get on with their research work so they can come up with answers. So the skill there is to have the variety of styles, so if we didn't include you, their preferred styles, and to have the flexibility to move around those styles on an as-needs basis. Then, what happens next? How are we doing time-wise? Oh, we're doing well. Anders Ericsson, very interesting guy. What does it take to make someone very, very good at what they do? He says it's about focused, repetitive practice, evaluating performance, listening to feedback and always pushing beyond what you've already achieved. For expert performers, there's always effort. Improvement is never effortless. Effortlessness. Improvement is never effortless. I'll get it right. Stumbling. And it's also about striving to be the best, not about just putting your nose down. You can take it off. Yeah. Not about putting your nose down, being a grinder, thinking I've got to push harder through the brick wall. It's about that circle of feedback and continuous improvement. Anders Ericsson's done 25 odd years of study of this. The input that he's had from sporting teams, business teams, it's very interesting about how do people, again, elevate from good to absolutely great. So I hope I've given you a bit of an insight into what it takes to actually run an expedition. Because it's really no different in many ways to running your business. Admittedly, there's not polar bears lurking around the corners. Though maybe, for some of you in the finance industries, I reckon there'd be well, for all of us really, I reckon we've woken up seeing the polar bear in the room more than once in the last 18 months. I know I have. It can be really quite challenging. So from good to great, it's not about that business of running an expedition, it's how you manage your people to achieve the outcome. And how do you give them the skills to be able to deliver and sustain the outcome and not be in any way eroding the self-confidence of others around them. It's all about that people relationship skill stuff as well. That's what gets you in there in the long term. Now what I'd like to do is introduce you now to Ian to take you into the next section. And it's really strong leadership, peak performance, culture, team effectiveness. So I guess it's the next level on from where I'm at. It's all associated with capturing the hearts and minds of the people. And the next summit on the good to great journey lies in the areas of systems, structure, methodology. And this is Ian's speciality. He also does something that I know I'm just not good at. He tried to encourage me to have a go at it before. You'll see. I might be able to ski well and run away from polar bears, but I think it's worth understanding one's limitations. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ian Stevens.